Hello my friends. Welcome to the calming sleepy story. My name is Brian. I am an English storyteller. Today, I share with you a horror story named The House Built by Blood, and I hope you enjoy it a lot with deep sleeping. Let's get started. The House Built by Blood. The Architect's Oath. Virginia, 1743. The land bled when they broke the soil. Not metaphorically, truly bled. Black-red, thick as syrup, oozing from the ground like a wound opened too soon. The workers stopped, shovels trembling. The landowner, Bartholomew Cain, waved off their fears with a silver smile. "It is only iron and clay," he said. "This land has waited for me. Now, I claim it." And he did. He built his estate not with stone from quarries, but with bricks fired from the earth beneath them, earth that soaked up centuries of war, burial, and old, forgotten rites. He hired no masons. No carpenters. Only him. And the whispers in the soil. When the house was finished, it stood crooked and proud atop the hill, 3 stories tall, with windows like watching eyes and a door that never quite closed. They called it Crimson Hollow. People said it groaned in the night. That no servant ever stayed more than a week. That Bartholomew spoke to someone in the basement long after sundown. When he vanished in the winter of 1749, no one dared look for him. They simply boarded the house shut. And left it alone. For almost 300 years. Inheritance. Virginia, present day. When Evelyn Marsh received the letter from a law firm she'd never heard of, she thought it was spam. Dear Ms. Marsh. We regret to inform you of the passing of your great-uncle, Silas Cain, and the inheritance of his ancestral estate, Crimson Hollow. She blinked. She didn't have a great-uncle. Not that she knew of. Evelyn was 29, a struggling architecture grad living in a DC studio apartment the size of a walk-in closet. Her parents were both gone. No siblings. No extended family she knew of. And yet, this letter had her full name, birth date, and her mother's maiden name, Cain. A week later, she was driving through backcountry Virginia with a rusting set of iron keys and a deed over 200 years old. Crimson Hollow rose before her just as the sun dipped below the trees, massive, hunched, and half swallowed by vines. 3 chimneys puffed weak, cold smoke from fireplaces long dead. The front door opened before she touched it. A long hallway stretched inward, wood warped, wallpaper peeling in lace-like strips. The scent was a mix of damp wood, iron, and something sweeter, like decay covered with perfume. Evelyn stepped inside. The door closed behind her with a slow exhale. Family history. She spent her first night exploring by flashlight, journaling in between yawns and goosebumps. The house creaked constantly, as if resettling itself with every step. In the library, she found portraits, dark, Baroque canvases of grim-faced ancestors. One man appeared multiple times, stern, pale, with thin lips and a widow's peak. Bartholomew Cain, etched beneath the largest frame. In a dust-covered trunk, she discovered hand-drawn blueprints of the house's construction, dated 1743. One note in the margins read, Each brick holds memory. Each room holds a name. Let the house remember who feeds it. Weird, she thought. But she couldn't deny the pull she felt here. As if something was watching her kindly, with old eyes, and maybe even approval. That night, she dreamt of brick walls dripping with blood, and a whisper in her ear. Welcome home. The hidden floor. The next morning, Evelyn awoke to the sound of humming. Soft, rhythmic, melodic. A lullaby, but too old, in a language she didn't recognize. She followed it barefoot through the hall, down the stairs, past the library, and into a corridor she didn't remember seeing the night before. At the end was a door she knew hadn't been there. She turned the iron handle. It opened without protest. Beyond it lay a stone staircase, spiraling downward. The sub-basement. She descended with a lantern she found hanging beside the door, its glass crusted in black soot. The air turned colder with every step, and the walls became rougher, hewn from raw stone instead of brick. Finally, she emerged into a low, vaulted room that stank of earth and blood and old smoke. The floor was uneven, scattered with chalk markings and rusted tools, some medical, some not. The walls were lined with niches, each containing a single item, a lock of hair, a tooth, a cracked mirror, a child's shoe. In the center, carved directly into the stone, was a symbol, a circle made of interlocking runes, with a bloodstain at its heart. And above it, scrawled in Latin. Sanguis memoria est. Blood is memory. Evelyn shivered. Something ancient had been done here. She turned to leave. But before she did, she noticed one last thing. A new chalk outline, freshly drawn. It was her silhouette. Research and rot. Shaken, Evelyn returned to the upstairs library and began researching the Cain family more deeply. Using an old rotary phone that somehow still worked, she contacted the town clerk of nearby Marrow's End. After some digging, the clerk called back with a warning. Bartholomew Cain was investigated for disappearances in the 1740s. They say he conducted rituals, old rites tied to the land. Locals believed he fed the house. Fed it? Evelyn asked. Animals at first. Then vagrants. Then his servants. No one could prove anything. But when he vanished, they found things buried in the foundation. Evelyn's hand trembled as she hung up. She looked around the house. Its walls seemed to pulse gently, like a resting creature. The house shows her. That night, the dreams grew worse. She saw Bartholomew in a black robe, chanting. Beneath him, a woman screamed from inside a brick wall, sealed and alive, her fingernails scratching the mortar. Claire's heart thundered in her chest as the dream twisted. She saw herself in Bartholomew's place, arms outstretched, whispering. Let this house remember me. She awoke gasping, fingers bleeding. She had been scratching the wall beside her bed. The plaster flaked away to reveal not wood, but brick. The same dark, red-black brick from the cellar. And her name, Evelyn, was etched into one. Bricks of the dead. Evelyn didn't sleep the next night. She couldn't. Not after seeing her name etched in that brick, same as the others, same as the ones from the cellar, the same as those, entombed. She spent the early hours scouring the house, searching for any explanation. Logic. Drafts. Tricks of light. But nothing explained the dreams. The bleeding fingers. The hum behind the walls. At dawn, she noticed something new. A door beneath the staircase. It hadn't been there before. The red room. The door creaked open to reveal a small, perfectly square room. No windows. Just red brick on all four walls, ceiling, and floor. The mortar was black. Damp. At the center sat a rocking chair. It rocked. Slowly. On its own. Evelyn stepped inside. The temperature dropped instantly. Her breath fogged. On the far wall, something glimmered in the mortar, a bone fragment. Too long for an animal. Carefully placed, as if part of the structure. Above it, words scratched into the brick with what looked like fingernails. They were here before him. The door slammed shut behind her. She turned, pounding on the brick. No knob. No hinges. Then, a whisper in the mortar. Blood is bond. The house knows its kin. The bricks warmed beneath her hand. And for a moment, a horrifying moment, she saw faces in them. Faint, stretched beneath the surface. Mouths open in endless screams. Evelyn fainted. Awakening. She awoke in her bed. No sign of the red room. No blood. No whispers. The morning sun peeked through the torn curtains like nothing had happened. But the memory remained vivid, and her hand was burned. A blister the shape of a rune. The Cain journal. Later that day, she discovered a hidden panel behind the Cain family portrait in the library. Inside, a leather-bound journal, worn but intact. It belonged to Bartholomew Cain. The entries began mundane: weather, construction notes, family matters. But over time, they grew darker. The house listens. The house remembers. I gave it my blood. It opened to me. Others tried to build here before. All failed. The land eats what it rejects. Then. She would not give willingly. The girl screamed as I bricked her in. But the house accepted her. A room for each. A brick for each. Their names in blood, their bodies in mortar. And finally. One day, another will come. The blood calls. The house will know her. And she will finish what I began. Evelyn dropped the journal. The floor beneath her seemed to pulse, like a heartbeat. The house wasn't haunted. It was alive. And it was waking up. Blood will have blood. That night, the house grew restless. Evelyn heard footsteps in the halls when she knew she was alone. Doors opened into rooms she didn't recognize. A child laughed, softly, bitterly, from within the vents. The fire in the hearth roared without kindling. The walls breathed. In her dreams, Bartholomew stood at the end of a long corridor, holding a trowel dripping with blood. You came back, he whispered. The mortar was never meant to dry. The ledger of names. The following morning, she returned to the library to dig deeper into the Cain journal. Hidden in the back, tucked between 2 pages glued together by age and mildew, was a folded parchment. A ledger, listing names. Dozens. Each with a year next to it, and a location. East Wing Brick 7, Lower Hall Brick 4, Hearthstone 3. These weren't just servants or family members. They were components of the house. Evelyn's name wasn't listed. But her mother's was. Rebecca Cain, Brick 13, Attic Wall, 1993. Evelyn staggered back. She'd been told her mother died in a car accident. A closed casket funeral. But now, she wasn't sure there had been one at all. The attic wall. Tears stung Evelyn's eyes as she climbed to the attic. The room groaned with each step, as though warning her. She found Brick 13 near a boarded window. Her fingers traced the outline. It was warmer than the rest. She grabbed the fireplace poker and chiseled it out. Behind the brick was flesh. Preserved. Soft. A cheek. Eyelashes. Her mother's face. Evelyn fell to her knees, sobbing, screaming, until she felt the house sigh beneath her, as if relieved. The binding. The journal contained a final passage. The blood must return. The vessel must accept the burden. The house survives only when one of its own becomes its keeper. Bartholomew hadn't just fed the house. He'd married himself to it, body, mind, and legacy. And he had bred successors to carry the covenant. One day, she will lay her hand on the stone, speak the words, and become the mortar. And Evelyn realized. She was the final brick. Unless, she broke the cycle. The ritual room. She returned to the sub-basement, journal in hand. The rune circle still bled from its center. A small iron dagger lay at the center, untouched by rust. She read aloud the counterbinding passage. By the blood that built this place, I break the bond. Let memory return to dust. Let bone forget its name. She cut her palm, letting the blood drip into the circle. The house shuddered. Above, walls cracked. Bricks tumbled. Screams howled from deep within the structure, hundreds of them, rising in chorus. And from the mortar, faces emerged. Men. Women. Children. All those sealed within. Their mouths open. Their eyes desperate. Her mother's face appeared beside her. Finish it, Rebecca whispered. Evelyn raised the dagger. And plunged it into the center of the runes. Collapse. The scream that followed shattered every window in Crimson Hollow. Bricks flew outward like expelled teeth. Rafters snapped like bones. The house buckled in on itself, screaming, weeping, fighting. Evelyn ran. The hill cracked beneath her feet. Fire surged from the chimneys one last time. And then, it was over. Crimson Hollow was gone. All that remained was a smoking pit and the scent of burnt iron. The land remembers. 2 months passed. The land where Crimson Hollow once stood had been fenced off, condemned as unstable. Locals called it cursed again, but now, with a tremble in their voices. Children refused to play near it. Birds no longer flew overhead. Evelyn moved to Boston. She kept quiet about what happened, afraid no one would believe her. Her hands still bore faint scars from the ritual. Her nights were not peaceful, but they were no longer haunted. Until the letter arrived. No return address. Just her name, Evelyn Cain, written in an antique, looping hand. Inside, a single piece of paper. Yellowed, brittle, smelling faintly of ash. It read. The foundation remains. You open the circle, but blood does not evaporate. It waits beneath. And beneath the words, pressed into the page as if by heat, a faint rune. The same as the one burned into her palm. She threw the letter into the fireplace and watched it curl into blackened memory. But that night, as she lay in bed in her small Boston apartment, she heard it again. The rocking. Back and forth. Back and forth. From the darkened hallway just beyond her door. And beneath it, softly, gently, a hum. The same lullaby from the cellar. They were here before him. And they are not done yet. Thanks for enjoying this story. Subscribe for more sleep-friendly horror stories.